I'm taking this all in, and the entire day I was helping tradespeople and emergency workers find survivors the entire day. And what really struck me is witnessing what the tradespeople went through. They had no protection on, no PPE on, and they were running into buildings, and glass was falling, and people were yelling, and I was just kind of like mixed up in this, in the middle of this with my friend. And I couldn't believe what the tradespeople were doing. And they were using any means necessary to find survivors.
Welcome to Blue Collar Blueprint Podcast. Today, my guest is Andrew Brown, and Andrew's kind of a legend, especially in the tool industry. Andrew, welcome to the broadcast.
Thanks for having me, Austin. Appreciate being here.
So, I just want to hop right into Andrew. You have a pretty interesting story on how you got started in it would be the blue collar industry, but on the other side of it. So, the back end of it, providing the tools, things like that. Can you explain how you got started with that? Because I've heard a story, but I'd like to provide for my viewers how that story. It's very interesting and intriguing to me.
Yeah, so my journey starts back September 11th, 2001. I was 23 years old, living in the city at the time. And the planes had just hit the World Trade Center, the buildings. And I remember that day like it was yesterday, and it was a long time ago. And like everyone else, we were in complete shock. And I just got this feeling inside my belly that I couldn't just sit there. I had to do something. And I got this crazy idea to give a call to my friend in Rhode Island at the time. I said, we need to go down there. We need to help. And he's like, how are we going to help? I'm like, we're going to help. So after some convincing and after a few days, he made his way into the city and picked me up in this big blue truck with American flag on the back. And he was dressed as a tradesperson. He had the overalls on, he had the hard hat on, and he had a separate outfit for myself. So all of a sudden, we found ourselves racing down the West Side Highway, going from checkpoint to checkpoint to checkpoint. Somehow we made it down to ground zero, parked the car, and all of a sudden, I'm on ground zero only a handful of days after that situation happened. And I'm taking this all in, and the entire day I was helping tradespeople and emergency workers find survivors the entire day. And what really struck me is witnessing what the tradespeople went through. They had no protection on, no PPE on, and they were running into buildings, and glass was falling, and people were yelling, and I was just kind of like mixed up in this, in the middle of this with my friend. And I couldn't believe what the tradespeople were doing. And they were using any means necessary to find survivors. And you talk about life-changing events for me personally, but also professionally. And after that situation, I gave my 2 weeks notice to my job. I was working in IT on Wall Street at the time, and I gave my 2 weeks notice. Like, it was just like one of those things, and I quit my job, and I had sleepless nights of trying to figure out, how do I get back to the tradespeople? I just again, talking about this life-changing event, I just had to do something. And that's where I co-founded an online tool and equipment business with my brother called Toolfetch. A little over 22 years ago. We're still going strong. We sell tools to the skilled trades around the world. So professionals like welders and carpenters and plumbers, electricians, and other blue collar trades. So these are the men and women who are building and repairing our bridges, our tunnels, our roads. And we reach them by offering one of the largest online tool and equipment catalogs with 1 million different products from 650 50 different vendors. And products like lifts and cement mixers, drain cleaners, harnesses, stuff like that. That is my way to give back to the men and women that I saw during that day. And it's just my way to connect with and be closer with the blue collar skilled trades. And I've been speaking to men and women around the country for a very long time behind the scenes and listening to all their stories about wage issues and trades gap and not being recognized. And I just got this feeling inside that I got fed up, and it was just I just had this all inside of me, and I just decided last year around September of 22 to start putting content out on LinkedIn and other platforms. And it was it was such a surreal moment that yeah, there were a couple of videos that hit, and that's wonderful. But it was to me, it was that the skilled trades, they're actually on LinkedIn. There are people in the welding trade, there are electricians and plumbers and business owners and construction companies. And it was just the outreach and the engagement and just listening to their stories just all of a sudden just propelled me forward to be consistent and try to put out each day a video about the trades and about the struggles and about what's possible and about college versus a trades path. And I've just been consistent, and it really just goes back to what I saw on 9/11. I just keep it consistent and try to get the message out there.
Yeah, when you were telling me that story, I literally got some goosebumps because like I mean, you're on ground zero. The only other people, like you were saying, there's blue collar people and there's first responders. I mean, essentially in itself, you were there as a first responder, but yeah, like that story is just crazy to me because when that happened, I was 4 years old, so I don't have obviously like any recall of that happening. But it's like hearing the story, like everyone that was, older and can remember that know exactly where they were when that happened, exactly what they were doing. Like it was a major event, right? So that was a straight up just a turning point for you in your life as well. And that's it's very cool and inspiring to hear uh, what it you know made you quit your job on Wall Street and you and your brother went into business to provide tools for the blue collar space. So that's yeah, it's just an incredible story. I just wanted to hear it firsthand because it's pretty inspiring.
No, I appreciate that. And it's just been a journey. It's been a journey for a very long time. And I'm just happy to share, my story and really the message behind this and the mission behind this to support the skilled trades.
I'd like to ask from your point of view because so you essentially work behind closed doors and you're working with all these blue collar industries, like you said, welding, construction, concrete, like all these industries. So what you see in your perspective, obviously I see it on LinkedIn, like you post pretty consecutively, like every day. So, but you probably have a better understanding because you're a wide range of knowledge across the board. What do you see as far as yeah, like there's a trade shortage, but do you see that in like all the trades? Like what do you see from on your side of the spectrum? Because for me, I'm pretty keyed in on the linemen, and that's really it. And I'm learning more about other trades because now, excuse me, being on LinkedIn and then seeing you and seeing Martin, which is another, I had Martin on the podcast. He's a great guy as well. Um, and just like hearing and seeing it, I'm like, okay, originally when I started Blueprint, I didn't even really recognize the trade shortage. It was more so I wanted to build a platform for high schoolers or young adults who just didn't know where to get started. And I wanted to provide a place for them to come to, and especially see it on Instagram and TikTok or Facebook or YouTube and places like that where they could see it and like, oh, this is interesting. And then go to our website, check out what we have there. And so, but then now that I've been on LinkedIn and I'm seeing, like you and Martin talk about like the trade shortage, I'm like, okay, I never really thought it was this bad, but it must be. But I like to hear your perspective on that side of it.
I mean, here's your prime example. So we have a service technician, and he does all the dryers and appliances in our neighborhood. He's just a well-known guy. He's probably in his mid 60s, 66, 67. And we got to talking because I had a dryer issue uh, at some point, and we talked about the skilled trades. And he said to me, he's like, nobody wants to take my job over. I don't work that hard. I make good money, and I have a secure job that has brought me income over time, but no one wants to follow my footsteps. What's happening here? And we just got to talk further that he's retiring and there's nobody to take his position over. So it almost like it's that's it. Who are we going to get next to find to fix, the essentials that we take for granted every day, like turning on the lights, your dryer, your heat, and everything else. You keep compounding that. And if you look at the statistics overall, I mean, this is in most trades that it's 40% are getting to that retirement age in the next 5 or 10 years. So if you're 45, 46, 47, you're sort of within that window of time that there's so many people going out of the industry or will be going out of the industry, there's not enough people coming in. And if you fast forward 5 or 10 years and it stays like that, who is going to fix everything? Who's going to fix our infrastructure that has a C minus rating? How do you get it to an A where the administration is trying to put all this money into infrastructure, buildings, tunnels, and roads, but there's no one to take the job? That's the missing component here. And what are we doing, like myself and others, and Martin, and you mentioned a few others, to get the messaging out there so the younger generation understands what is possible in the trades? Because we need to change the old adage about the trades that is looked down upon. It's option B. It's not, you should find a white collar job. That all has to change, and hopefully through the messaging, my videos and other things, this starts to turn. So we don't have a situation where, my service technician retires and there's no one to follow
Yeah,
his footsteps. But if you just keep compounding that by HVAC, electricians, and everything else across the board, we're going to be in a really bad spot. I call, we'll be SOL in a handful of years. And I don't think people really understand that narrative.
yeah, it's an interesting perspective. So, and I, it's opened up, for me to see, like I said, seeing your videos and seeing on LinkedIn, especially. I mean, you don't see it. I don't personally see it on any other platforms, right? I mean, I post on YouTube, Instagram and whatnot, and yeah, you see the blue collar pages, but they're just posting blue collar content where they're not really pushing a narrative or a message at all. They're just showing what's out there, and that's great. But like you're saying, we need people to provide a message and educate, especially the younger generation. I just turned 26, so I mean, I classify as Gen Z, so my generation. But for me, I grew up in a blue collar family. My dad's a pipe fitter, my mom's a nurse, and I grew up in the country. Like that's kind of all I knew for the most part, like growing up. But then, obviously, going through high school, I was pretty good at math. Like I was good with school, and I was thinking, well, maybe I'll just go to school to become like an electrical engineer, even though it didn't honestly interest me at all. But I was just like, I guess college is really kind of my only option. I didn't even. My dad, he was like, you don't want to work where I work. Like it's a career, but you know what I mean. Like there's other good things out there. And I was like, okay, cool. So I was like, I guess I'll just go to college. So I didn't, obviously, luckily. I found out with the lineman trade, I'm an adrenaline junkie. And I figured what better trade to get in than, you know, messing with heights and high voltage that'll kill me instantly. So I pursued that and I went into it. Now I see, you know, this company been working with an HVAC company to, essentially build a course to learn about the whole HVAC trade, a day on the job, what a day looks like the whole kind of the shebang. The owner of the company is saying the same thing, that his employees are are his friends that he served in the military with, because he was like, I just can't find anybody to like come work for me. So I have to just hire my friends because they just got out of the military and they're looking for a job. And I'm like, I need guys, but like I'm spending thousands of dollars a month on Indeed and trying to get eligible employees to come work for me. And then I'm spending more money to onboard them. And then they work for a month and they're not very good. And it was somebody that was just looking for a job and he needed employees. So that's the side where I kind of am wanting to try to do is, maybe teach these people a general understanding of a trade, especially the 18, 19, 20 year olds where they're not stuck in their ways, versus like someone who's been doing HVAC for 25 years, like they're going to do it their way, but not how companies have their own systems and everything. So it's a catch 22. But yeah, those guys are also 45, 50, so they're probably retiring soon. So what about the 18, 19, 20 year olds? And he's like, well, the best place to start is just come be a shop boy for me. Come hang out in my shop. Come restock material, learn material, sweep the garage, get the jobs ready for the day. Like start at the bottom and you're just gonna learn and work your way up. And I mean, yeah, his guys make really great money. They're making, six figures and they're home every night. Like and they don't have no degree at all, period. No trade school, no college. Uh, they just did their time in the military and they like working with their hands and problem solving. So it's like trying to get that message out there to the public is it's kind of a hassle, but like I see it now in a different perspective, just seeing more people talk about it, especially on LinkedIn. So um I had a question. So are you a father by chance?
Yes, I have two kids, so two young kids.
So I would like to hear from your perspective, what role should the parents be playing in all of this?
And that's a great question. And to pick up on some of the points that you had mentioned, what's being spoken in the household? So you mentioned that somebody was in the trades growing up, so you had exposure to it. And if if your parents, possibly they're an accountant or they're in some other type of field, maybe they're pushing you towards that, right? Maybe they're a doctor or a lawyer and they're pushing you to that profession. Maybe that's been spoken in the household. Maybe they're pushing college and go into a 4 year college and take that path as a doctor or a lawyer, right? So if you've been told that, you're almost pre-programmed that, okay, then I should be an accountant. I should go to school. That's the path I should take. If it's spoken separately about the trades, and I'm all about, I'm not against college. I just want to put it out there. I never was because I went to college myself. I think giving the kids options that, hey, there is another path, such as the trades, and I see that you like working with your hands, just as yourself, that there is another path into the trades. Possibly having that individual take a shop class. That's something that's kind of missing from kids in high school. And I go back, I'm a lot older, but when I was in when I was in high school, I didn't take a shop class. It wasn't even given to me. Like I didn't have that. Maybe I took a woodworking shop at camp or something like that, But other than that, I wasn't. If I was, maybe I would take a different route. So it comes down to schools and what's being spoken about in schools, what a teacher's saying, what a guidance counselor's saying, but also your parents. If your parents are saying, you know, the trades are option B, it's this whole white collar versus blue collar. Well, you might be swayed, but parents just need the right information and need to kind of get rid of the old adage that it's dirty and it's not acceptable, and that whole portion of that depiction of the trades needs to go away. I think parents need updated information. Um, to answer your question also about sort of the linemen, what people don't realize is that linemen are the first responders or working side by side with first responders, right? So when the power goes out, who do you see who in the front lines? It's linemen, going up on the poles and trying to fix the power and get it back on. People don't know that narrative. They just think of, well, emergency workers. It's the men and women putting themselves in harm's way to get what they need done, to get someone's heat back up or someone's power back up. That's a true hero to me.
It's
And I always call them true. I always call it, the true heroes in blue. that's the narrative that I also try to share, is just sharing with kids what's possible and what is. It's not just you're on a job site, you're building a building. Well, what is that building doing? That building is creating jobs. You're building a school. Well, that school you're helping to build, kids will be educated. You're building a bridge, a tunnel, a road. People can get to work. Like, there's a lot more that you can share with kids to give them the bigger picture, the success stories of people who have done well in the trade. So, maybe they started off in a construction company and then worked their way up. Maybe they became owner of the construction company, became CEO. Maybe they started their own business. But it all depends, obviously, your route and what you want to do. But the possibilities are endless as long as you put the time and effort into it. Instant gratification. A lot of kids want instant gratification. I want it today. I want the money today. I'm not going to work for it. That too has to change too. It takes time to level up your skills and climb the ladder of success. And like anything else, you got to put the time in. But I think it's possible to have a really great career in the trades. And we're in a desperate need, man. I mean, it's just, if, like I said, if I could have a microphone screaming up on the rooftop, I'd be doing it consistent. Of course, my neighbors wouldn't be happy, but you know,
Yeah, no, it's that first responder thing, that point you mentioned about linemen being first responder. Obviously, I've seen that on a very close basis because, any storm, like right now I live in Arizona, and last year, like they have a monsoon season here from August, or July, August, September usually is their monsoon season. So they get just down flooded rains and winds, and the power goes out. But it's 115 degrees, So we're going out in the middle of the night. We're working, and customers coming out, and they're saying, "Oh my gosh, when the power is going to be back on?" And like, we're you should be happy you see us here because there's 100,000 other people out of power. So the fact that we're here in your neighborhood, just be thankful. It takes a lot out of me just to, like, I understand, like, it's hot, it sucks. We're working in it, right? So they're like, oh, I had blah blah blah, and I had meat in my freezer, and now I don't have power, and I'm like, just a large portion of me would love to say, well, better prepare, get a generator, or get something. Instead, I'm just like, ma'am, we're getting the power back on. There's 3 broken poles. We're trying the best we can, so just hang tight, all right? But so I mean, but when you do get the power back on, talk about instant gratification in a sense, in a perspective of when you close that cutout back in and you see the lights come on, and it's like, that's very cool. That to me is worth like more than the money part of the trade, because in any aspect too, all any of the trades, HVAC. I'm sure you go out, someone's AC is not working, and you get their AC back on. They're like, "Thank you very much for getting my AC back on." It's 110 degrees outside, and you're like, "Yes." So you fix their AC, and any trade, right, across the board, that's how it is. So that's what I love personally about the trades is, you were saying no instant gratification. Yeah, there's no instant gratification for you right off the spot, but yeah, once you get into apprenticeship, you start working, you see the trade firsthand, and then you see aspects of the instant gratification. But I love that part of the trade for me is very awesome. So
feeling of accomplishment and getting, like you said, the heat, the power back on. That's the exciting part. I mean, I completely understand both sides, from the end user going to you and saying, "Well, where's the power?" And you're like, "Well, we just had a storm and all these poles are down. We're working hard." And and men and women are working hard to do that.
yeah,
But there's such a feeling of satisfaction. I can only imagine once that power goes back on, that you know you guys, you saved the day.
yeah. When I was just down in Florida, for that hurricane, it was just like the coolest thing. We were staying in a man camp. We were leaving the man camp, and there was like this. There was a school nearby. And as we were driving our trucks away, and they had like all these kids outside, and they all had signs of like thank you, thank you, thank you for first responders, and I think I might have shed a tear just because it was just like all these little kids and they're just cheering us on as we are driving by, and I was like, yeah, a Category 4 hurricane just came and ripped through and just destroyed you guys' this whole neighborhood. Like it sucks, I can tell. Like it's terrible, but I don't know. There's just something about it was it's extremely satisfying. Gives me kind of goosebumps thinking about it. But so in your also perspective, I want to ask what percentage of high schools do you think even still kind of teach trades? Because for me, my high school that I went to, they of course have a shop class, so welding and woodwork. And last time I went there, just this last summer, um, they said that they get like 250, $300,000 a year from the state of Washington, is where I'm from, to basically improve their shop class. So they buy new welders, they're getting new equipment for um, all kinds of stuff. They're just able to teach and further advance, students of different trade opportunities. But they're like one out of three high schools in the state of Washington that still has that. So it makes me think, well, three high schools in the whole state of Washington only have shop class. What about the rest of the country? I mean, no one else, like, I know down here in Arizona, they offer like a welding program as a junior, senior in high school. You can um, go down and do like a welding school in Phoenix somewhere, but I'm not too familiar with how it operates. Have you see that at all? On your side of the country, like, oh, where do you live in New York still?
Yeah, so I'm on the East Coast, so I'm in the New York region. I don't want to speculate on the percentages because I don't have that off the top of my head. But I think it's getting better. I think there's I think there's way room for improvement. Back in the day, that was a requirement. Like you had to and I remember watching this just sparked a memory because I was just watching The Wonder Years. It's an old show that we used to watch, and one of the main characters, Kevin, he was in middle school and he was in shop class. He just hated to be in shop class, but I was like sharing with my kids, like, this is what people did. You had to take a shop class and think about what people get from that. Even if they don't go into a trade, even if it's not for them, they can pick up how to do things. And you can take that back into your day to day when you're, you know, in your house and something breaks, you'd be more inclined to maybe try to fix something or build something. I think it's so important to have a shop class in there because if you have a kid who's mechanically inclined, has a technical spark, that might just spark the interest level where they're not exposed, they don't take it, and maybe that kind of dies in a sense that they never develop that skill into a trade. So that shop class is extremely important. I would implore uh, schools to bring that back, assuming they have the budget. I think it's depends on where you are in the school district that some have it and some don't. But I think it's getting better. But I think you would see a lot more people be at least interested in the trades if they had that ability to be exposed to it early on in a shop class.
Yeah, like I follow this gentleman on LinkedIn, and I think he's a middle school shop class teach, and he's like teaching these kids how to splice copper together for plumbing and how to wire up an outlet for a house, like in middle school. And I'm like, that's awesome. You know how many adults have no idea how to do any of that, and I mean he's teaching them at you know in their early teens, like which are prime learning years, which is like crazy. I didn't think that was happening anywhere. And when I saw him, like that's an instant fall. I love what this guy's doing. This is awesome because you definitely don't see that at all. From my perspective. Of course, I've been out of school a little bit, and I don't have kids or anything, so I'm not like too involved with what's going on in the education system as far as right now. But I would like to change that because with Blueprint, that was the other thing. I went to my old high school and I was basically sat down and talked to the principal about getting like a platform like Blueprint to their students. So the students can go on the platform and learn about different trades and the careers and the money you can make and how to get started in that trade and what a day looks like in that trade. So they have a better understanding because it's impossible to teach, you know, 100 kids what electrician to what a plumber, HVAC, lineman, iron worker, like you name it, right? I mean, there's a lot of trades out there to try to teach, and they're teaching the basics, which is good. Um, but I want to be part of that movement to try to help, teach the younger generation for sure. So I love what you're doing with it. I know you will continue to keep posting about it and spread the message. And so, where can any of the people that watch this find you? Are you on Instagram or Facebook, or are you kind of just on LinkedIn? Can you give your platforms and where they can find you?
Yeah, so I'm predominantly on LinkedIn. That's where I mostly engage in the content. So it's under my name, Andrew Brown. I am on TikTok as well. It's under Andrew L. Brown. Also, I'm on TikTok, I'm sorry, YouTube as well. It's under Toolfetch, our company name. Not so much on Instagram. Um, you can also DM me. I'm always good. I always like to chat with people about the skilled trades or even just tools and equipment and just kind of talk about shop. So I'm always open for a conversation if someone wants to reach out to me or our website, www.toolfetch.com. I'm always here for a phone call. I love talking to people. So that's where you would find me.
Yeah, that's the same for me too. Especially if someone has questions about the trade in generals, but specifically the lineman trade, like I tell them, reach out, DM me on Instagram. I mean, I send out emails 2, 3 times a week too. I have an email list, and I'm always like, reply to this email. Like, if you have questions, like, don't hesitate to reach out and ask me because I want to help. So, in areas that I can, and if you ask me a question I don't know, I'm going to get an answer from you from somebody somewhere and get back to you. So, um, I appreciate you coming on. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, all these pieces, I just want to make one last point. All these pieces and parts, everybody is chipping away, right? So mine with my videos and what you're doing with linemen, what others are doing with their podcasts, we're all to some degree working together to change that old adage and really keep the trades going. So I just, want to give a salute to everybody out there that is doing the work. We're all working together to make the trades what they were once again.
Yeah. So actually, I have one last thing. If you could give one piece of advice to, let's say, a senior who is going to be graduating this year who doesn't want to go to college, what would you tell him to do or her?
Yeah, I would first, hit the pause button and figure out which direction to take. So obviously, if you're saying that college is not for them, um, to start to dig around to see what other options, if some type of trades path is an option or they're thinking about that option, is to start digging a little bit more information. So there are companies out there that will go into a little bit more in depth about what a trade is and figure out, do they want to be an electrician? Do they want to be a welder? What do they want to do? What's their interest to them? They want to be a plumber. Maybe they have some people they know that are a plumber, possibly an uncle, possibly a friend, to speak with them and to understand, what is it all about? What is plumbing all about? What can I aspire to? How long does it take? How long does it take apprentice, to be a journeyman, to be a master in the trade? Maybe I want to own my own business one day. So start to put the feelers out. I also think too about getting interested in the trade is working with your hands. So start tinkering around the house. Obviously not extreme stuff, but just tinkering around is just tickles your your inner spark of mechanical ability. And doing some more research online, obviously taking a look what apprenticeships are available out there in your wherever you are in the states, um, and just get a better understanding of what's possible in the trades. And there's also obviously social media and other platforms that you can take a look at that people put out information about that. But there are people like myself and yourself and other people out there that are available to talk a little bit more in depth about a particular trade. But I think it's great. I think if a kid is thinking about something else, the trades is a viable career option, and you can do extremely well. I always say that when people say, "Who's the big house down the street?" Oh, they own a plumbing company. Oh, they're an electrician. Like I always say that it is possible to be uber successful in whatever you do if you put the time and energy behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at like A1 Garage. They're a massive company, and he started just repairing garage doors. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunities. Yeah. I mean, you could. I know a lot of it. I can go down the rabbit hole, but yeah, just want to say that there's a lot of opportunities. You get into a trade, like you were making the point earlier, of just working your way up through it, and then yeah, maybe you get to journeyman level or master's level, or then maybe you're like, oh, I want to check out the more technical side of the company. So you go and you start into some sort of management roles or project management or project development, and then you work your ranks up there, and then you're like, I know how to I could run my own business. So you start your own company, and then you become a successful company owner and doing electrical work. I mean, there's just so many possibilities, and you did that without going to college at all. You just did that from sweeping the garage floor at a shop.
Got to start somewhere.
Exactly.
Never stop learning. Never stop learning. Learn from, have a mentor, learn from people who've been there and done that. That will shave off years, years of time. That's something I wish I did when I was younger. It took me a long time to find a mentor. Um, but that's how you kind of,
Exactly.
you know, stair step your way up the ladder of success. Is working with somebody who's been there and done that. That really helps a lot. Mentorship.
Well, Andrew, I thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Hopefully your viewers that watch this will learn something. I'm sure you provide a lot of valuable points to our viewers. So I really appreciate you coming on and spending some time and explaining, your whole journey and what you're doing for this for the blue collar industry. So thank you.
Thank you, Austin. Appreciate it.